Today I'm going to be breaking down how we scaled our info product to $32,000 in only 3 months. In today's video, I'm going to be covering our social media strategy, anything for funnels, and how to qualify people. So if you're struggling with your info product, trust me, you want to get to the end of the video. There's not going to be any flashy animations. There's not going to be any of that mental masturbation stuff. But what there is just straight source and straight value. So without further ado, let me jump over to my screen and show you more about our Stripe. And so just to show you guys, £25,000, right? So 25.6K in less than 3 months, right? From the 7th of December to the 7th of April, which is around 4 months. In the first month, we done 2.9K. And I'll get into the second, the breakdown and the pricing costs, right? And then when we jump over to all of the other months, so from the 1st of January all the way to today, we made around £22,000, which is around, let's say, 28K dollars. It's absolutely nuts. We still have some payouts that we still haven't been paid for, but it's just crazy to show, right, how we've been able to do it in such a short period of time. And trust me, if you're struggling, I'll break it down for you and make it so much easier. All right, I want to jump over to my iPad really quickly and show you guys more about that and more about the info product that we do. So how we scaled our biz to $30,000 in 3 months. 24th of Feb to the 23rd of March was the first time we hit our first 10K, which is around 13 to 15K dollars. Absolutely nuts for being in the business for 2 months, right? Our info product, for some more context, at the moment we have 52 members, right? And our price point is $1,500. For our actual info product, we help students, we help career switchers, we help beginners land data roles in the UK. And it's a mentorship program, right? And we have so many testimonials of so many people breaking into data, right? I want to give you guys kind of the evolution of our pricing points and how we quickly were able to scale from £200 to £1,000, which we currently sell at, right? Which is 5x in a couple months, right? So when we first started, it was £200, right? We were selling on LinkedIn. We never had a social media. We never had any platform. We barely even had a website, right? We went on LinkedIn to first of all validate the concept and validate if our idea made sense and there was people that actually wanted it. We later got banned on LinkedIn and that's why we switched over to social media. So we started selling on LinkedIn. We put out a post literally saying we have a program, and we done a bunch of sales calls. We just spammed sales calls. Show up rate was absolutely terrible. We probably had like a 10% show up rate, right? Out of 1,000 applications and 1,000 booked calls, or I think it was 200 booked calls, we were able to sell to 13 people, right? So out of that, we had a 1.3% conversion rate, which is absolutely horrible, right? And we'll get into a second what our conversion rate is currently. So I want to get into the social media because I think this is where it really scaled the business. Before that, we were on 2.9K, which is not too bad as a beginner, from literally 0 to 2.9K in 2 weeks, which is still not bad, but it isn't definitely the numbers that we're doing now. So our social media strategy, over to LinkedIn, 8.4 million views from the 25th of December when we first started, which you can see 200 views when we first started, to current day, 8.4 million views. And I think this is literally 3 days ago I took the screenshot. So it's probably even higher now. So that's 8.4 million views. If you want to go check it out, rahaifa.altamimi on TikTok. In 60 days, 5 million impressions in 60 days, right? And you can see here 5 million, 87K profile views, 332K likes, over 4,000 comments, 24K, right? But this is the crazy part, £6.72 only from TikTok as a platform, which is nuts, having considered how many views we're getting, right? And we'll get into a second about conversion rates. Going over to Instagram, like I said, £6.72, which in the UK, especially with the cost of living, is literally barely a meal deal, which gets you a cold pasta, maybe a crisp packet, and an energy drink if you're lucky, and you'll probably get 50p change, which is absolutely nuts, right? Out of 5 million or even 8.4 million views. Instagram, right? We started Instagram maybe 2 months after TikTok. We just started off as a platform, and this is some piece of advice for anyone that is starting their social media. Start off on one platform, scale that and get that to a good level, and then leverage the followers that you have on TikTok, funnel them over to Instagram. And that way you can start boosting, and you tell the algorithm that there's a lot of attention to this account, and then it gets pushed over to so many different people. So 5.2 million impressions in 30 days, which is absolutely crazy, which is how much we made, right? Just under how much, or just over actually, how much we made on TikTok in 60 days. So half the amount, right? Just the same amount of impressions. And then 6.5 million impressions in 60 days. So absolutely crazy. Instagram generated $0. So Instagram as a platform generated $0. Total revenue with all of the social media platforms. We've not done a single ad copy. We've barely touched LinkedIn in terms of organic. We don't have a Twitter. We don't have Reddit. We don't have any social media platforms. And we don't even have a long form style content yet. And so imagine when we start scaling that, how much numbers and how much revenue we can start pulling in. But I wanted to showcase this part, which I think is very, very important, which is £6.72, right? From both of those social media platforms. So in total, we done around 15 million views. So 15 million views only gave us about £6.72. But the funnel made us $30,000, right? And that's the important part. There's so many lifestyle social media accounts. There's so many personal brands. There's so many content creators out there. And when you talk to them, because I used to talk to them when I was doing growth operating, all of our clients were making around, let's say if they had 2 million followers, they'd make around $1,000 a month. And they're very, very reliant on partnerships. They're very reliant on brand deals, or they have a really, really, really bad funnel, right? And that's why our funnel knowledge that we got from other businesses that we generated or worked on, we were able to work on it and generate $30,000 in a couple months. So without kind of going into so many details, right, I want to show you guys the funnel really quickly. It's a very, very simple funnel, right? I don't want to get into too much. It's literally the impressions, and then the qualification, the lead magnet plus a sales call, and then from the sales call, you get the sale, right? And there's some intricacies and some details in between each one that we'll go into in a second. But if you genuinely simplify it to yourself, it's literally how much impressions that you're getting, right? Into how much qualification you do to those potential leads, right? Because I don't want to do sales calls with people that can't pay from regions that I can't help, right? And that is important because at the start, when we first started it, we had people from India, we had people from China, we had people from Middle Eastern countries, we had people from America that wouldn't pay for the services because first of all, we couldn't give them that much help. And second of all, because they just didn't have the right purchasing power, right? And that's why you have to hone down on who your profile and who your avatar is. So qualification is the second part about who your avatar and who your profile or who your potential client is. And you have to be very, very particular about it. Like I said, we do data analytics. We help you land a job. So our profile is people who are looking to land a role in data, and for people who are looking to transition into data, as well as being in the UK, as well as qualifying them for if they can have or if they have the right purchasing power. And we'll get into what qualification looks like and what softwares we use. So the second part is the lead magnet plus sales call. So the lead magnet literally means a call to action that captures leads for you, right? It captures the information of that potential client. And what that means is you have their number, you have their email, you have any point of contact that then you can follow up with them, and you can either send them into an email marketing campaign, you can just send them into so many different things, right? And that way you can start generating cash flow passively regardless of the actual sales calls themselves. Inside of the sales calls statistically, right, are the best way of selling to people because it removes any friction. You're able to handle any objections. You're able to do any risk reversal, right? So you're able to focus on what their pain points are and use those pain points as a way to sell to them, right? Sometimes you won't get the sale on the call, But if you follow up a couple times, right? At the moment, we have a guy that's doing WhatsApp follow-ups, and through the WhatsApp follow-ups, we get sales through that, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to come from the call itself, but that's where you handle all of the objections. You then send them some resources, and then you go from there, right? The second part is literally from those calls, you then start to generate cash. So impressions, qualification, lead magnet, and sales calls. Simple, right? So let's get to the actual details on how you can actually start to implement it for yourselves or start to hone down for your info product. So let's go to the second part. So impressions. You want to build your traffic, and this is something we learned through the years. You want to build your traffic before you build your product. And what that means is there's a difference between building your product and finding your niche, right? For example, our info product is in the tech and data niche, right? We found our niche and then we then validated and then made a product based on that, right? So we then started to post in our niche, and based on the problems, the questions that we started to get, we started to make the product even better and better and better. When we first started out, let me just go onto my screen. When we first started out, we literally had a couple modules on here on School, which is just a platform for communities. We had a couple videos on here, and then we used to do one-on-one calls, right? And then a month later, we had it jam-packed with help, information, and resources. So we started doing all of this before we finished our product. And that's very important because you want to focus on the traffic that you can generate before you finish the product. Previously, when I had my other info product, I used to focus so much on the product that I never got as much attention, I never got as much traffic, I never got that many eyes to my info product. And that's why it just failed. It didn't really work because I didn't have that many impressions. So you want to build out your product before you build out your, build out your traffic before you build out your product. So how you do that, like I said, you solve problems, which I think is very important. A lot of people, a lot of content creators and influencers, when they're making content, right, they're lifestyle content creators. So they're not solving any problems. So they're more entertainment than they are value, right? And you probably heard this concept before. And the difference is when you are value and you are solving problems, that person that's listening to you, your audience, the person that's flicked and saw your video is saying, I have this problem, I need it to be fixed. And most likely than not, they will pay to get it fixed. And similarly, with our info product, people are struggling to land roles in this market. Why they're struggling is so many different reasons and so many different problems, but they are struggling. And because they're struggling, they need someone to help them, and they're looking for the guidance. And there's so many people doing courses, but the difference is for us as a unique selling point is that we do mentorship. And that way we can start to solve people's problems, give them one-on-one support, etc., etc. And so when you're starting to solve problems, what that then means is that you're starting to attract the right people and the people that are looking for these problems to be solved. That it literally is, and we'll get into data collection, which is very important. In a nutshell, how your social media strategy should look like. You're solving problems in your niche. You're trying to create as much value as possible in your niche, and then you're building your traffic before you build your product, right? And there's so many people that will create their social media and then do a waiting list because then they can build out their product, and then because they have so many people that are waiting for the product, they can then sell to them. So it's so much easier when you work on the social media and then you work on the product. And that's something we suffered from. Lead magnets now. Lead magnets, you want around 3 to 5 lead magnets. That's what we've seen to be the best. And like I said, lead magnet is literally you collect their information and then you either contact them at a later stage or you put them into an email marketing campaign, right? You send them some value, you send them some free content, you send them some resources, and then they want to book a call because they want to learn more and they want more help, right? So it's literally lead capture and then grabbing their information. Qualification and sales calls, right? I'll get into the software that we do in a second. The more impressions you get, naturally you get more disqualified people or more unqualified people. And like I said, I had people from India joining, I had people from the Middle East, etc. that aren't qualified for the product that I'm trying to sell because they're just not in the demographic that I'm looking for. And because of that, I'm just ending up giving free value away, right? And because I'm giving free value to people that aren't going to buy, then I'm just essentially wasting my time. And so many people are doing that. And you have to be very strict on who you're qualifying for. I'd rather you qualify more than disqualify less, or disqualify, sorry, for people who you think might buy. But if you qualify more and more and more, even if they potentially buy, right? Even if you think they might potentially buy, what happens is you've got more free time to do more things. You can post more content, and then the people that you might have missed out of will eventually come back to you, right? And so that means you can use your time wisely instead of wasting time on calls. And that's something I suffer too much in. And what that means, if more unqualified people, more no-shows as well. And you eventually just wasting so much time with people either no-showing or people who can't actually be sold to, right? We use a software called iClosed, right? Let me just give you a quick run through of what iClosed looks like. So iClosed is a software that we use for AI scheduling and for event scheduling, for qualification as well. So we literally have an event, right, for our mentorship call, for LinkedIn, and also for WhatsApp. In here, if we can just drop down and see, we've got some invitee questions. So we have their email address, first name, last name, phone number, where are you based, what best describes your current situation, when ideally would you like to transition. So all of these qualifying questions are basically designed to either see if you're a good fit for the mentorship or not. And we also mentioned if the mentorship feels right, when do you want to get started? Right away, in less than 2 weeks, in less than a month, or over a month from now. And that way we can understand who's most likely to buy right now than someone who's most likely to buy in 6 months or is just browsing or inquiring. So we want to be very harsh in our qualification, right? And let's go to the disqualification. You have, for instance, if they're not in the country code that you want, right? So for us, it's +44. If they're not +44, you can literally disqualify them. And I literally have every country except the UK, right? And you can add more and more disqualification questions, and then you can send them a message if you want. I don't really bother because it's not really that needed, right? So this is our software that we use in order to disqualify people, and it saved us time and time and time in having to actually jump on calls with people who actually want to buy. So let me go back to the iPad. Like I said, disqualify. They're very important. The more you can disqualify, the more you can sell, and the more data that you can collect about your avatar and about your profile. And that goes into the best part that I like, which is my background, data curation or data collection. The more data that you have equals the better decision making that you can create, right? And because you know more about your profile, or you know more about your avatar, you know how much information to give them, what type of content to create, and who they look like, so that you can cater to them instead of someone else, right? And when it comes to social media, when it comes to qualification, these are the things that you want to take in mind, or you want to think about, right? So for social media, obviously more posts equals more comments and more engagement. And engagement converts to questions, and it also converts to pain points. So you literally have a flywheel, right? You have a never-ending loop of so many different questions and so many different pain points that you can make content about, and the people that are looking for solutions then want to buy from your product, right? And then you always put a call to action that would then get them into a sales call, right? And we get, like I showed you in the iClose, we get so many people that then you want to qualify. So pain points equals sales calls or lead magnets, and then sales calls equals cash collected, or through the lead magnet, you're able to then redirect them into a sales call. At the moment, we do all of our selling on sales calls, right? So we don't send any links or anyone to no one that we've kind of talked to. And like I said here, client avatar, pain points, budget, purchasing power, region, age, demographic, right? Second part is the qualification. What qualification questions lead to better customers? And that's something you want to always experiment, and you always want to test to see what works best. I've introduced questions that have not really qualified to the best extent. And even now I'm introducing more questions that can give me a better understanding about the person who's going to be on the call and what likelihood they are to buy, right? And that goes into their current situation, their likelihood to buy. And if they know about our mentorship, and this is what happens in the calls, right? You always assume that they know something about you. And that is the biggest problem that a lot of info products deal with, is they always assume you know about the mentorship or about the info product. You always assume that they know about the services that you're selling or about the solutions that you're trying to provide. And because you're always assuming, right, you're never really going into detail about if they want to do the mentorship or they're not in the right time to actually start the mentorship. So before the call, you want to give them as much information and as much resources to learn more about your mentorship. And that way, when you're on the call, it's an easy sell, right? And the more information you give and the more research that they can do, it gives them more information to then eventually buy in your mentorship for the call. Sales calls, like I said, objections, pain points, and then the readiness to purchase. And that really and truly summarizes what we've been focusing all of our time and effort into, because we focus on trying to collect as much data about the people that we're trying to sell to, and that way we can better the systems and SOPs that we have, right? How we're going from 30K to 60K, right? I know I've gone through so many things, and I'm going to make a whole breakdown and a whole tutorial around every single thing, how we do everything, single SOP, even sales call recordings as well, just breaking down what it looks like and how you're able to sell. But I wanted to show you guys how we're going from 30K to 60K in the next couple of months. So social media and socials, we're introducing LinkedIn. We're doing more live streams, which is a great way to sell to people or to get them onto sales calls, right? Because they get to see more about you. You get to answer their pain points. And it's basically a free sales call to so many different people. They get to send their questions and then you get to answer them. And then we're also introducing a DM setter, right? And what that means is people inside of Instagram and TikTok are either sending you messages about the mentorship or asking for more information. And then if you have someone that is giving them information and then redirecting them to a sales call, you have more sales calls to do, right? And that gets into us introducing another sales closer that can then jump on more calls as well as myself. Qualification, call triage, right? Like I said, more data equals more qualification. And call triage is literally going into calling the client or calling the potential customer before the call in order to decide if they're a right fit. So asking them more questions, seeing if they have any questions of their own, confirming the attendance to increase show up rate as well. So really diving deep into the people that you're going to be talking to. And the more that you can do that before the call, the smoother the calls that you have. And me just introducing that over the last week or two has increased show up rate by like 40%. And it's insane how much calling someone either the day before or the start of the day doubles the amount of show up rate. Previously we had around 20%, now it's around 40 to 50% show up rate, which is absolutely insane. Follow-up sequence as well. So after the call, we've had a conversation and then we've talked about the resources and the possibility of doing the mentorship. They're interested, but they need some more time. What we've done before is, okay, you want some more time, I'll send them one follow-up message. And because of how many calls I'm doing, I never get the chance to talk to them or have a conversation around if they want to sign up. And if I was able to do more follow-ups with more people, the amount of sales that or revenue cash collected that we would have had is insane, right? So imagine if I just closed 5 people, that would have been 5 extra K a month, which is insane. So what we have right now for the follow-up sequence is in the call, what can I send you at the end of the call? What can I send you that will help you or give you more research? Get their WhatsApp live inside of the call, and then 30 minutes to 6 hours, depending if you're doing it yourself or someone else is doing it for you. You send them a transcript breakdown, and you can get Claude to help you with the transcript breakdown, the info that they wanted, right? And it creates a resource with everything we talked about in the call. So it's very personalized to what they mentioned. And then 1 or 2 days later, if they've not responded, what do we then send them? We send them a video testimonial of someone who's landed a job previously. And then we forward it to them. And then because this is a video that they can look at and see someone else who's been able to land a job in our community, that then piques their interest. Then we can redirect them back into either paying or another sales call. Then, hey name, wanted to check in. If they've not responded to that video testimonial, hey name, wanted to check in. Where's your head at regarding signing up to the mentorship, right? And that way, it's just trying to redirect them, trying to pique their interest as much as possible, just trying to keep on them and not lose them, right? And if you've not gotten to that stage and they're ghosting, what you can then do is double dial every day for a week. Just keep on them, keep on them, keep on them. And that way you can either ensure that they will never buy from you or that they have never left from buying your mentorship. And that way, we've introduced this over the last couple of weeks, and this has increased the sales rate and it increased the show up rate in all of our calls. And it's been absolutely crazy how much people either don't know about your sales calls, they don't know about your mentorship, they don't know how to reach out to you, right? And because you always assume, then you're missing out on so many potential leads or so many potential clients that you can sell to. So in a nutshell, right, this has been a breakdown of literally how we were able to scale our biz to $30,000 in a couple months, right? This is a quick summary, right? It's a very, very surface level kind of breakdown of what you can do in order to implement. I'm going to be making a huge tutorial, maybe 3 to 4 hours long, on every segment of what we do in the business and how we're able to scale and get into them higher numbers, into 30, 40, 50K a month. And if you want any kind of help, resources, put a comment in the description or in the comment section down below. And if you want anything else, DM me on Instagram.